What you must remember is that narcissists come in all shapes and forms. And they're usually people who can end up getting quite close to us. And what a narcissist does is they push your buttons in order to try to get a reaction out of you, in order to fuel their narcissistic supply. Because their insecurity is too damaged in order to generate feelings of self-worth internally from themselves. So instead, they use psychological manipulation in order to basically push someone down in order to push themselves up. Basically, that's what a narcissist does. The narcissists are deeply, deeply insecure about their own life. Deeply insecure about their own lives. Deeply. To the point where they cause shit in everyone else's life or whoever's life it is that they can. Narcissists usually have their own punching bags, whether it's in their family, or friend circles, friend groups, so forth and so on. They usually have a punching bag. They need a supply. So whether it's a family member, whether it's a friend, a relative, whoever, a business partner, whoever it may be in your life, whoever takes a lot of time and energy from you. Because that's what they do. They do things to get reactions out of you in order to drain energy from you. Because psychologically in their mind, if they can exert power and control over you, then they believe that they are superior, then they believe that they somehow have an improved sense of self-worth. Because in a narcissist's mind, they would rather like to blame others that are, not at fault, not liable for anything, instead of accepting it themselves. Narcissists don't like to accept. They like to think they're wrong. What is a narcissist essentially? Because many people may say, oh, well, you're a narcissist. A narcissist is essentially someone that fucks with someone else. Psychologically. And in terms of manipulation, that's what a narcissist is. Somebody who speaks shit about someone else, who fucks with someone else in any way, shape, or form. And has a repetitive pattern and cycle of doing that. That's what you need to be in order to be considered to be like a narcissist, right? So, or a sociopath, you continually wonder, which is one and the same thing, you continually want to fuck with people in order to get a reaction out of them, whether it's through their face or behind closed doors or both. It doesn't matter as long as the narcissist is getting their supply. How do they get their supply? Mess with somebody else in order to give them some sort of, it really doesn't actually make sense to me, but some sort of feeling of, control or whatever. The thing is, it never feels good for the narcissist, because how can you feel good when the way in which you think you need to make yourself feel good is by making someone feel bad just so that you can feel better about yourself? That's completely unsustainable. It's completely emotionally damaged, destroyed. These are people who have extremely poor emotions. They have an extremely poor ability of managing and expressing their emotions. And as I explained, they're deeply, deeply, deeply insecure. Narcissists are always deeply insecure. This is what you must remember. They are always, always, always deeply insecure. If they weren't, they wouldn't behave in the way in which it is that they do, by trying to destroy someone else's sense of security in order to help improve their own sense of security. That is a trait of someone who is incredibly and deeply insecure about their own selves, their own lives, their own this, their own that. But a narcissist will never admit them to themselves. It actually won't even be in the purview of their mind. It will be more of a subconscious thing. because they would never admit that to themselves. A narcissist will admit whatever it takes in order to continue to be able to justify their behavior, in order to continue to justify the way in which it is that they choose to treat others. You see, me, I've chosen to stay away from as many people as possible because I'm honestly completely not interested in anyone else's life. I'm not interested in doing anything with your life, contributing to your life, this or that, because I've always been drama-free. I'm not going to come and randomly start pushing your buttons for no reason. I don't do that. I have better things to do. I'm not deeply insecure. I have a strong sense of security within myself, and I have an ability to basically navigate and negate through my emotions. Okay? And each day it gets better, each day it gets easier, because that's what narcissists do. They fuck with us so much to get reactions and rises and responses by pressing our buttons and ultimately contributing towards trauma-based, compulsive and what is it? Trauma-based, compulsive, erratic, and reactionary behavior. Because that's what narcissists do. Like, if you're constantly getting triggered by people who are trying to trigger you, that actually adds up. Every single time a narcissist tries to trigger you, it actually adds up as pain within your psychological body, your emotional body, and also your physical body too. Those bodies are actually very much connected. So it's very dangerous actually being around narcissists, or actually not standing up towards them and tolerating their abuse. You have to tell a narcissist that you will not tolerate their abuse, cut them out of your life, do whatever it takes, because ultimately they will not learn any other way. You're never going to be able to teach a narcissist, because they're always going to continually think they're right. So you can't teach them. So the only way you can teach them is by removing yourself out of their life. If you are their supply, and all of a sudden their supply runs dry, and the supply basically stands up for themselves and says, you know what, I'm not putting up or tolerating this abuse anymore. Anyone that wishes to project such abusive behavior towards me has absolutely zero access to me at all. And the reason as for that is because I value myself, I value my sense of security, I value my emotional and psychological well-being. That is my number one and complete and total priority. Because at the end of the day, if a narcissist comes and abuses you and makes you feel bad for the abuse it is that they're projecting onto you because of their own insecurities, their own pains that they're projecting onto you, if a narcissist does that, you see, a narcissist basically wants to attack people's throats, their sense of expression, because the narcissists usually go for people that they're intimidated by, and usually that they're jealous and envious of. And this can even happen in family relationships, close-knit relationships. You can have family members who are jealous of each other, like a mom jealous of a daughter, or a mom jealous of a son, or whatever. And anyone jealous of anyone. Because the whole world is actually, quite frankly, full of narcissists. These are people that use their emotions, use their own sense of self-justification in order to justify their behavior within their own mind, and in order to justify their behavior to those people in which it is that they choose to psychologically abuse, ultimately. They do this because it's actually created by trauma, whatever trauma that may be in their own life, that's created a huge sense of insufficiency, ultimately creating and also getting used to very destructive and nasty manipulative behavior, picking up that nasty manipulative behavior throughout time, using it as a defense mechanism, and then throughout a long process justifying that sort of behavior. The more that behavior gets justified, the more it actually gets deeply imbued within that person's conditioning, to the point where it becomes habitual, and to the point where it becomes like a ritual to these people. Because they don't know how to, they're so deeply insecure, they don't know how to actually generate their own internal energy of self-worth. So they start feeling these deep feelings of insecurities, and then they respond and thinking, oh, well, without even knowing it, subconsciously most of the time, oh, well, let me take it out on someone else. All right? Because as I said to you, a narcissist will never admit or want to realize that they're a narcissist. But if you're someone who's pushing someone else's buttons for no reason, just to get a response and a reaction out of them, then what are you? Do you understand? Some people want to say, well, a narcissist is someone who is egotistical or whatever. Well, I don't know about that, because the ego, we've all been born with one. It's very useful. It's very healthy if it's in check. And someone who has a great sense of self-confidence can seem like a narcissist to a narcissist. But in order to be a narcissist, you have to look at your behavioral qualities and traits. And as I've explained to you, if you really want to sum it down, it really comes down to people that want to gaslight and push other people, and who are habitually and richly programmed within their subconscious mind and their subconscious behavioral patterns to continually keep doing that. Because of a lack of self-awareness, of a lack of introspection, of a lack of an inability to look within oneself, as well as a lack of actually feeling a need or a reason in order to do that. Now, narcissists don't realize that they actually impose more self-imposed injuries than the injuries it is that they believe they're imposing upon somebody else. Because a narcissist, every time they be a narcissist or be abusive towards somebody else for no good reason, they're continually drilling that into their energetic field, they're continually drilling that into their body, continually drilling that into their karma, and a record of their actions and thoughts towards other people. That's why there's a song lyric I love so much, who Jah bless, let no man curse. You know, cursing in your mind is towards somebody who's done nothing towards you, is the equivalent of cursing someone, of like physical abuse, basically, energetically speaking, because everything has a cause and effect. And these sort of negative energies, whether spoken or unspoken, are very damaging and can cause long-term psychological effects or trauma within the people it is that happen to experience this. Anyway, please join Patreon for my private blog. Love you guys a lot. See you soon.